Hi, Robert. You wrote a deep dive report on China's artificial intelligence or AI outlook. Now, China has well publicized ambitions in AI. How successful have Chinese software firms been in bridging the technological gap with its US peers?
Okay, thanks, John. Yeah, I think there's firm evidence that China has successfully narrowed the gap between itself and the US over the last 18 months or so. So, on our estimates, we think China's roughly six, or its developments are running roughly 6 months behind currently. If you recall, there were a number of concerns in the market that the US export controls on advanced accelerator chips, as supplied by the likes of NVIDIA, would forestall the developments of China's AI software companies. But as it turns out, that hasn't been a major problem for them. Companies stockpiled chips or an inventory ahead of those controls, and they've also adapted their models, making them more efficient and more lean, which makes them more adept at running on locally sourced chips from the likes of NVIDIA. So as a result, the software companies have made solid progress and now are positioned, as I said, roughly 6 months behind the US.
And China's software AI sector is currently loss-making. What will it take to bring the sector back to profitability?
Okay, I think two things in that respect. One is obviously monetization. Monetization within the sector remains a very, very early and immature stage. And there are two potential barriers to that. One is, I think, perceptions amongst consumers need to change based on a range of external survey data. Currently, the average consumer doesn't see sufficient value in the current range of AI tools on offer, so they're unwilling to pay for them. And then, secondly, the AI market in China is hyper competitive. There is a plethora of tools from multiple suppliers out there at the moment, most of which are free to access. So, again, that gives consumers little excuse or little incentive to put their hand in the pocket and actually pay for these tools. So monetization is one major aspect to get to profitability. And the second is really, as I've alluded to, there are so many companies out there at the moment. It's a hyper competitive sector, which reflects the relative low barriers to entry on the software side. So I think ultimately we'll need to see some sort of shakeout and consolidation in the industry to ultimately drive it to profit. So based on our estimates, we think that's at least 2 years, if not 3 years away. So in aggregate, we expect this sector to remain loss-making for the next 3 years.
And which companies are well placed to lead China's AI industry in the future?
Well, okay, it's perhaps a little dull answer, but I think ultimately scale will win out. So we think Alibaba and Tencent in particular are well placed to lead this sector. They have much deeper and broader resources than most of the main competitors out there. They have a proven track record on software development. And, China is a leading force in terms of the software sector globally anyway. China has approximately a 3-to-2 advantage in the absolute number of developers it has versus the US, for example. So these are very broad-based companies which have got great scope to realize synergies within their existing business to drive cost savings and drive efficiencies by applying AI within their existing business. And I think, as I said, ultimately scale will win out. So once we see this inevitable industry consolidation, I think these bigger platforms are well set to capitalize. But again, as I mentioned in the second question, they're unlikely to turn a profit in the next 3 years. I just want to add very briefly that I think also the likes of ByteDance and Huawei are relatively well positioned, although both these companies have lesser expertise on the AI software side versus Alibaba and Tencent. And also, I think most people would understand that Huawei's main strength really lies on the hardware and semiconductor side, where we expect to lead on a domestic basis.
Robert, thank you for your insights.